Hi, in this video I'll be discussing about texturing in Blender, and it's very fun to work with, and if you know Max it's gonna be like a blast. And yeah, so I have done a modeling for this particular chair in my previous video. Please do check it out. It uses modifiers and basic modeling and subdivision, etc. And in this video I'll be texturing this one, and as you see, this is procedural and I've used some nodes. If you're a beginner, I think this might be daunting at first, but trust me and trust the process. We'll be getting through all of this. And as you see, there are like a lot of repeating nodes here, so which will be easier, when we get into it. So yeah, this is like a knockoff of a like approximate cloud texture with some randomness, and in close up it doesn't look that good, but from a distance, yeah, it kind of works. And this is a beginner one, so I didn't do anything complicated on that. In To start off with, first of all, I think I'll also have to discuss about UV mapping. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate this process, but it's a kind of a process that you have to do it, and it helps you a lot. Sometimes it can be interesting, like it's like solving a puzzle, like unwrapping a mesh without leaving any seams. Okay, so enough of that. So see, if you take a couch, um, it has seams, which is good for us, because we can just follow that and create our seams. And this is a basic seam, and I'll go through about UV in detail later. But for now, I can provide the model to you in the description, or it's something similar to that. Or you can just take a plane and work on the texture. It doesn't matter, it just works on any UVs. Okay, so every single shader, I mean, the current version of Blender that you're watching this video is 4.0.1, which is a stable version of 4.0. And if you see, every shader starts with a principled BSDF, which enables us to render PBR materials, which is true to lighting and realistic things, and true to reality. Yeah, so it has some parameters, or like plugins or inputs that take some value and give us something realistic. Okay, that is gist of it. I'll be more specific when I go into more details in later videos. But for now, all you have to keep in mind is the base color, the color of the couch, and the roughness, how it reacts to the light, based on the direction or like how reflective it is. And normal is nothing but fake details. Like, so if you see, you are able to see some bump, which is actually not there. And this works really well when it's like small details. When you go bigger, it will be obvious that it's fake, but for this kind of stuff, yeah, it truly works really well. And that's why we use normal. It's a normal because every face has a perpendicular direction, and the light from Blender uses that direction, and that's how it's been reflected to us. So what we are doing is we are manipulating that particular vector, and sorry for introducing math here, but that's how it works. So it's a vector that is pointing perpendicular to the face, and we are changing its direction using math. Basically, like this blue dot mean, it's a xyz vector 3 to be precise. Okay, so enough of that. Just remember, it just creates fake details for now. Yeah, and yeah, we are using UV, which gives us UV, which gives us kind of a 2D XY. In Blender, XY is converted to U and V axis, which is nothing but renaming X and Y on a 2D plane. It's U and V. oh, sorry, u and v, which were u is x and v is y. Yeah, and it is red and green as x and y usually colored. Z will be blue. So if you see just red, green, or any combination of that, which in this case is yellow, it's a 2D coordinates, and we are going to be using that for creating our texture, which makes it more so powerful that you can just use it on any surface with the proper UV coordinates. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And you don't have to use UV for procedural texture, and I think you can just use object coordinates, but yeah, it might not be suitable for all objects, but it is suitable for some. In some cases, I will explain that to you in another video. We'll take a look into everything. Yeah, so, and as you see, we are getting proper seams. I'm not doing anything with the mesh, like, yeah, you are getting a proper, like, a stitch kind of edge. I'm rendering it from here, so the detail is not necessary to create stitch bevels. So yeah, and how we are doing it is, I'm going to create a new material. Okay, so we are starting from scratch, and I'm going to hit Control T. Just do that, like, by enabling, I don't know if I even have to say this, if you're already a Blender user. I don't know why they haven't made it by default to turn on. Yeah, no triangle, that is. Okay, so make sure you enable that, and when you hit Control T, it will give you 3 nodes. We can just remove the image texture node, and we are going to use the mapping node and the UV node. Even I didn't think we even need this one. I mostly scale my UVs directly here, so that when you want to export something, you can just export it, and the scale still stays the same. And we'll be discussing on how we are going to export some assets for games as well, games or WebGL, DJS, etc. So yeah, most likely I won't be using this, but in some cases while during render, which when I don't want to adjust the UVs, I'll be using this one. So mapping is nothing but you're just editing the UV indirectly. So we'll be using this, and I'm going to create a Voronoi textures, everyone's favorite. And if we see this, it's projected well, and I'm just hitting Control Shift left click. So yeah, it cycles through the options. Now, so you see there's a value named random. So yeah, you just have to make it all the way to 0. Now you see you have a grid, and we don't want to use F1, we want to use this distance to edge. So we get this, and we have to remap it, use map range, and I'm going to output it as 1 to 0, so that the blacks will be white and white will be black. And you can adjust this parameter to get like sharp values, yeah, something like that, and you have yourself a matrix. And I'm going to duplicate this one, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift the coordinates a little bit for this one. I'm going to use converter vector math. Yeah, I'm going to shift it on x and y a little bit, like maybe 0.15. So if you look at it, it's slightly shifted, right? And if I mix it together, you see this, maybe we want even more randomness. No, not like that, like something like this, not exactly center, otherwise it will look just like a scale value. Not 0.1, 0.09 maybe, yeah, something like this. And still it's looking like a regular pattern, but we are going to break it apart by using a mask. So for mask, I'm going to use a noise texture, and same coordinate as this one. And I'm also going to use map print since it's almost gray. We won't want gray, we want black and white. And I'm also going to decrease the scale a little bit, so we'll get more of definitive black areas. Okay, let me just if you want to reset all the values, just hover over a node and hit backspace. Yeah, there we go. And since if we look at it, it's not looking that good, so we are going to increase the detail or roughness on the noise, like here. We are getting something. So this is the basic principle of this, and I'll be doing it like 3 times or a couple more for each of the values, like for base color, roughness, and normal, because each value demands a different range in order to get a desired result. So you can use this one as a base and control or manipulate it in order to change the colors. So let me just go back to that, and as you see, I'm using two mapping nodes here, and I'm adjusting the values a little bit. I've used the mapping node itself. You can use just add, it should be fine. And these are the two Voronoi textures, and I've scaled them a lot. And yeah, as you see, grids, and I'm mixing them like this using a noise texture. It's also detailed. See, you want to get it something like this, like a patchy black and white pattern, with which we can, in the black areas you can get one shape, and I'm sorry, one Voronoi, and in white areas you can get another. And if you see closely, you are getting mixed values where there is two dot. It's kind of fading out, like it's actually black here, but in just this area it's white, and it's getting the other other one. Like if I just go back and forth, or I can maybe adjust this. Yeah, see, you can see that. So this is the pattern we are going for, and already it is looking like kind of a cloth, and it's extreme, I know, but that's why we need adjusting for each layer. And I'm getting this through another set of nodes, which is a similar thing, and I am adjusting the values, like the range. See, the input is the same, but I'm controlling the output in order to make it work for 3 different aspects. So this one I'm doing it for the color. So I'm also using another noise node in order to add more detail on top of it. So without it, yeah, so you can see there is a bit of color. I'm not sure if you are able to see it. I'm using the same pattern, so in order to accentuate the randomness that's going on. And once it's done, I'm going to colorize it. I mean, it's a subtle color, but as you see, this is not white. It has some red, green, blue, and it's mostly a reddish brown, I'm not sure, light brown color. And I'm making it a little bit darker. You can do it here, but we are not mixing it. We are colorizing some black and white values, so we can't adjust the value. So I'm adding another hue saturation value now and keeping it from, like, reducing it by half. And once the color is done, yeah, we can move to, let me just remove this. Yeah, see, this is the color you get. And if I hit this, it will be black and white. And without this one, you will be missing a whole lot of details. Yeah, and it's still looking brown because of the lighting. I'll be doing another video on lighting. Okay, so for the roughness and normal, yeah, So for roughness, I need another set of values. Since cloth is somewhat rough material, you want there to be simple difference, but on the higher end of the roughness. Like you can't go from 0 to 1 on this. You have to make it like the least value, like the reflective value, which is kind of in the dark. I mean, I'm just adding it to add some, lighting to affect the so far here. So I'm just keeping the range from zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.6, which is kind of a mid-range roughness. And if I set it to 0 to 1, sorry, it will look like this, and the black part will be reflecting as glass or something. Sorry about that. Yeah, now you are able to see. I'll explain what I just did. So if you see, I mean, this doesn't really matter, I guess, in this case. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how this value works. And yeah, so this is what happened, and the 0.3 to zero point 0.6 will give us a mid-range where it's not too reflective, and it also has some variations. So yeah, that's that. And let's plug everything back in and reduce the specular to 0. And let me explain what I just did. Okay, so and take the roughness from here to here and turn it to 0. And it doesn't matter because it's not going to change anything. So what is happening is, since principal BFTF takes in, I mean, like provides any kind of material that is possible within the aspect of reality, like I mean, like they are split into two, right? Like dielectric and metallic. So dielectric means not metallic, like it can be plastic, it can be clothing, it can be wax, it can be skin, etc. And I mean, I think dielectric is nothing that is conductive. Yeah, that doesn't conduct electricity. And metallic is nothing where you just pull this up and nothing works. Like you can't. Sorry, I mean it will work, but you can't make anything else out of it other than metallic look. So yeah, and since it's like this, you just have two options. You just either put it to 0 or put it to 1. I mean, if you're artistic enough, you can have a middle value. That's why they gave it. You have a creative freedom. But if you want to be realistic, you just either keep it at 0 or keep it at 1. And since 4.2, there has been some improvements and some extra sliders that you see. You have two IORs, one in specular and one in normal settings. I'll explain them in another video while I'm have a use case for it. Otherwise, it will be just confusing. And now we are going to give it like a cloth look or something like velvet. I'm not going for velvet, but yeah, no, you just have to crank the value up to make it like a velvet clothing. Okay, so let me just remove the roughness for now. I'm going to put it like 0.1, and let me get back the old lighting setup. So we don't want this much, and we don't want the tint yeah, we want the tint to be white. And I'll plug in the roughness value from here. Yeah, and we want to set the weight. It should be like cloth looking, which reflects right lights around the rim and doesn't have a highlight straight on from the camera. And let me just 0.15. I think it's a good value. Yeah. So yeah, this is sheen. Like if you want something to look like cloth, you just have to use sheen. This is the weight, this is the influence, and you have the roughness, which I think it's doing something. You see. So if I remove the roughness, it's uniform and it's getting a little bit darker here. And if you want it to see it pronounced, get back into 0 and 1. As you see, this is like diffusing the light more than the like darker parts. So yeah, we'll just stay in mid-range. I think that's looking fine. Yeah, if you want to take a closer look. And I'm using cycles a viewport rendering for this. Yeah, see, if you will get this kind of highlight only with the sheen on. So if I turn sheen off, it's gone. Like, see, you can see the highlight that only cloth behaves that way to the light. And we'll come to the normal. And normal, we are using the same pattern, but with another, I'm using the color node, like from the color node, and plugging it to a map range in order to accentuate the values more. And a lot of people are misunderstanding about this node. Like, you don't need to adjust the strength. Let me tell you something. You don't have to adjust the strength unless you definitely need to, because the value you put in is already ranging from 0 to 1, so it's not exceeding 1. It will stay flat. I mean, like, within the range, proper range, you'll have more control. But by default, the distance will also be 1. So can you see the difference? So let me just go back. Suddenly it becomes darker. Okay, what's happening? Like, you can see that nothing's changed. It's not that pronounced, but yet it's darkening the color. So what's happening is the blender is assuming that the normal distance, like the depth of this black area, it's 1 unit, which is 1 meter. Like, it's 1 meter deep, you know. So it's not actually 1 meter deep for us in real life. It's like less than a millimeter. So we are going to put 0.0001, which is like, okay, that is too less. Maybe 0.001, maybe it's 1 millimeter. Okay, yeah, so this is the distance. That's how it works. Is distance like how high to low the values are, like how high the highest point is and how low the lowest point is within this height value. And you can plug other normal maps if you have, like what I've used for this particular carpet. I can add more details on top of it using normal without disturbing the normal of the image itself. Maybe I can show you an example. Okay, so we have the normal map. I can take a bump map and I can plug the normal inside, and it doesn't change anything. Not right now. If you see, it's not changing anything. And if I want to add like a noise, like it's kind of folding kind of texture, like where it's not completely flat on the floor, I can use that. And now it's too dark because the distance 1 is saying like the depth is like 1 meter deep, and I'm going to make it like 0.1, like a centimeter. And if I scale it, like you can see, right, it's not flat, it's crumpled, and it's easily visible, and it's not, I mean, it's accentuating the normal plus doing it. If I remove the normal map, all you see is just crumpled, but you're losing the detail of the normals from the carpet threads. So if we reattach that one, you'll get that. On top of it, you'll get this folding, like crumpled effect. I think this looks good. Let's keep it as it is right now. Yeah, that's how it works. And let's coming back to this. So that is normal. You are creating with procedural method, and as you see, there is much. And I just explained like 3 nodes. Like even this node is a big one, but I explained part of the node, which is one is UV and another is object. Object is nothing but it just takes the object origin, yeah, as a 000 point, and above that is plus z, below that is minus z, in front of it is plus y, back of it is minus y, and left, right, minus x, plus x respectively. And it is useful for most of the procedural textures. That's why we use object coordinate most of the time, but in this particular case UV max is more suitable. And I'm using mapping node which adjusts the coordinates and even scaling is just optional. I just kept it if whenever I need it. And I'm using overnight texture to create a base pattern, and then let me just go through this. Yeah, I'm just creating base patterns, and I'm using map range to accentuate or make it sharper like a grid, and I'm using a noise texture with details in order to mix both of the overnight textures. And once I did that, I'm separating them into three types, and I'm plugging one for the base color, one for the sheen roughness, another one for normal. That's it. And I'll attach this particular blend file in the description. Okay, thank you for watching. If you like it, and if you, I'll also like to do some live streams maybe once I got some engagement. And sorry for the low quality mic I'm using. So I'll be improving like all the other YouTubers who are doing well so far. So let's see how it goes. And thank you for watching.